When you think of the Renaissance, certain names come to mind: Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, Galileo, the printing press, the Medici family, and their spectacular wealth. What most history courses leave out is the single most important factor: the person who, more than anyone else, lit the fuse. His name was Dante Alighieri. He was born in 1265. He died in 1321. And he never saw the Renaissance he made possible. Today I want to make the case that Dante's Divine Comedy, a poem written more than a century before Leonardo picked up a paintbrush, was the quiet revolution that started everything. The Renaissance was not just a flowering of beautiful art, it was an intellectual revolution, a fundamental shift in how European people understood themselves and their world. Before the Renaissance, European intellectual life was dominated by one question: what is God? Theology was the queen of all disciplines. The Renaissance changed the question to: what is the story of humans? This shift from divine-centered to human-centered thinking is what we call humanism, and it is the philosophical engine of everything the Renaissance produced. Constantinople was slowly falling to the Ottoman Turks. Greek scholars fled west into Europe, bringing the texts of Plato and Aristotle that had been preserved in Byzantine libraries. The Crusades had put Europeans into sustained contact with the Islamic world. European crusaders came back with ideas: mathematics, philosophy, medicine. In Italy, the constant competition between warring city-states created the conditions for innovation. Florence, Venice, and Genoa were all trying to outmaneuver each other. Florence benefited from the rise of the Medici banking family. They became the greatest patrons of art and learning in European history, bankrolling Michelangelo, Leonardo, Raphael, Botticelli. And then in 1440, Gutenberg invented the printing press and knowledge became democratized. Within 50 years, millions of books were in circulation. All of this is true. These are real factors, but something is missing from this account. Look at the birth dates: Michelangelo 1475, Leonardo 1452, Raphael 1483, Galileo 1583, Galileo 1564, Dante 1265. Dante preceded the Renaissance by over a century. Dante wrote the Divine Comedy in Italian, not in Latin. This was radical. Latin was the language of the church, of scholarship, of power. Writing in vernacular Italian was a statement: this knowledge belongs to everyone. Dante also did something no one had done before. He put humans at the center of a divine story. The comedy is about Dante himself, a real person, a citizen of Florence, journeying through hell, purgatory, and paradise. He put his political enemies in hell. He placed his ideal of love, Beatrice, in paradise. He made the spiritual world viscerally personal. This was a revolution. Before Dante, the spiritual world was abstract and impersonal. After Dante, the inner life of a specific human being became the lens through which all ultimate questions were examined. The Renaissance artists who came after him were reading him. Petrarch read him. Boccaccio gave public lectures on him. Michelangelo wrote sonnets about him. Why does scholarship tend to leave Dante out of the story? Part of the answer is that Dante was medieval. He believed in a geocentric universe. He accepted church authority on theological matters. But Dante was the first major writer to say that the human experience is worth examining in its full, complicated, specific reality. That is the seed of humanism. Leonardo and Michelangelo inherited that instinct. They made it visual. Galileo applied it to the natural world, but Dante planted it. The Renaissance taught Europe to ask a new question. Not what does God want, but what is this human experience, and how do we understand it? That question is still the engine of everything we call modernity. And that conviction has a poet at its origin, a poet who wrote in the language of ordinary people about his own grief and loves and anger at a corrupt world. Dante didn't call himself a revolutionary. He thought he was writing a Christian poem, but the spark he struck changed everything. The quietest revolutions often do. Thanks for watching.